I'm going to ask a bunch of questions. That's to keep your answers tight. If I interrupt, it's not to be rude. Um, Mr. Cooper, following up on what you just said, or Ms. Hicks, let's start with you, Ms. Hicks. I spoke to the president of LSU, and I said, your costs are going up. He goes, my costs are going up because the federal government keeps on requiring me to have more overhead. I've got to do this, 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 and this, which formerly I did not have to do. And so Dr. Cooper pointing out that the costs has continued to rise, the more federal government has been involved. He would say, yes, because you're mandating me to spend more money on salaries, and salaries is difficult to replace with, say, efficiencies. Is his observation ring true for you?
Well, I'm not the CFO of the college, and I know that the budget is a concern, and the demographic cliff is a concern with my upper leadership. So yeah, I mean, if that resonates.
Dr. Cooper?
Yes, I think that absolutely resonates. The Vanderbilt Center has done some very good work on the cost of regulation in higher education. It's mostly on the research side. All the requirements that the federal government attaches to research grants have.
Now, I was told, though, for example, the fact that, he said we used to call it HR, but now we call it something else. But the fact is, a lot of the stuff the Biden administration had in terms of, okay, you got to measure the outcome of different groups. Whatever you think about it, that required more people to be hired. And different agencies, all responding to pressure from the federal government. Again, is he overstating or is that valid? Because I've read that the administrative portion of a university has grown quite over the last decades, whereas the teaching faculty relative to the number of students has remained constant.
That's correct. We've definitely seen that the drivers of college cost increases tend to be on the administrative side. Part of that is definitely due to federal regulation, but I think part of that is also due to the subsidies that the federal government and state governments make available to higher education, which feeds the beast, so to speak, and results in higher administrative burden, higher administrative apparatus on campus.
Mr. Drager, part of the rationale behind the College Transparency Act, several Congresses ago, we had someone, I think from Georgia Southern, they had a 500-point thing where they followed each student. Now, we know that African-American males have been that subset of folks who've had the most difficult time completing 4 years. They found that they had completely erased gender and race differentials by doing this, and they would track each child, each student. And if, for example, last semester they needed $500 to get through that final semester, they'd give them $500, and then they'd graduate with a degree as opposed to merely having lots of debt. So you speak to the power of the College Transparency Act. As I say, you look in the mirror, whatever you look like, whatever your SEC background, not Southeastern Conference, but socioeconomic, that you'd be able to have a sense of your chance of graduating at this university, if it's like that particular university I meant, which is tracking you to make sure you do well, as opposed to another which, once you've paid your dues, that you're on your own.
No question, the better the data that we have on students, the better that we're able to track.
Now, tell me, the fact that Georgia Southern's got 500 pieces of data, if I remember correctly, that they're tracking, tells me that the data's already there.
Yep, and the better that we're able then to provide the right information at the right time. The Strata Education Foundation president and CEO testified about this on the House side earlier this year and showed some of the trade-offs we get when we don't have that data and all the data that we can use then to provide students and families the right supports and the information that they're asking for.
Now, I'm a little bit nervous about just willy-nilly expanding support programs. There's a woman once, I won't tell the tragic circumstances by which I met her, but nonetheless, she had left college, but she'd used her Pell Grant to buy furniture. And so, now I suppose you need furniture, but the Pell Grant's supposed to pay for tuition, and it's supposed to pay for the meal plan, it's supposed to pay for the cost of the car. And now she had to leave college after 1 semester or 2 semesters, and she's left with a lot of debt. 10 years later, it wasn't a Pell Grant, it was a scholarship. Whatever it was an unrestricted. So I'm a little bit nervous. So Mr. Hulsman speaks about the need for basically wraparound services, but there's a woodworking effect there. The more money you provide, the more people will take it up, even if it is not necessary, rather it is just optional. If I may tell the story of my wife, she borrowed money as a medical student and went to Australia. I chuckle because I paid off that loan. Anyway, it's kind of a bitter chuckle. But anyway, aside from that, it's a woodworking effect. You have free dollars, you end up doing things that you otherwise wouldn't do. Mr. Drager, will you comment on that?
I would say that there's plenty of room for debate about the right level of subsidization. Bringing it back to transparency, though, when we focus in on what students and families actually need and how we can meet those needs, we're giving them the right information to make the right choices. I'd also just add, we've talked a lot about accountability, and you're getting at this issue of how do we make sure that the dollars are used in the right way. We have federal accountability, state accountability, accreditor accountability. The one we haven't talked about is market accountability. When we have transparent pricing, students and families also vote with their feet, and we introduce better market accountability where they make choices based on actual value and price.
That is the rationale for a College Transparency Act. Yes, which I think would work.